Hey guys, today we dive into something that might seem subtle at first, just a little leg stiffness, a slow walk to the mailbox, or maybe the way you now pause at the bottom of the stairs when you didn't used to. But stick around because what's happening in your legs may not be just aging. It could be something you're swallowing every single morning. You might even think you're doing the right thing. Imagine this, you're getting up from the couch, and instead of standing tall like you used to, your knees creak, your thighs protest, and your balance feels just a little off. You trudge to the kitchen hoping a stretch will help. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But the heaviness doesn't quite leave. That's the whisper. The soft red flag. Take care of your health, live healthy. But also live informed. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, why not let us know where you're watching from? Drop your city and local time in the comments. I love seeing how far this community reaches. Now listen to the treatments and measures to improve your health. You pause at the first step again. That subtle moment when your leg hesitates, it's telling. Not yelling, not screaming, but telling. That the body you once relied on for long walks, for quick turns in the kitchen, for stepping in and out of the car with ease. It's changing. And yes, change is natural. Muscles age. Tendons dry out. But there's something else. Something within your diet, or worse, in the bottle of supplements you take with water every morning, that might be silently sabotaging your strength. Starts with fatigue. That slow burn, hard to describe tiredness in your thighs. The kind that lingers even after a good night's rest. You might chalk it up to poor sleep or maybe the weather. But then it's followed by soreness. A bit more joint cracking. A little less bounce in your step. Then comes the weird cramps at night. The ones that coil your calf like a clenched fist while you're still dreaming. You hydrate more. You stretch longer. You walk slower. But the mystery remains. Why are your legs feeling so old when your mind still feels so alive? You've probably heard this before. It's just what happens after 60. But here's the thing. Just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. And it certainly doesn't mean it's irreversible. Think about your morning routine. You take your meds, maybe your multivitamin. You sip your coffee and you feel proud because you're doing what health magazines say. You're supplementing, supporting your bones, giving your body what it needs, right? Except, what if you're giving it too much? There's a strange paradox in modern wellness. In trying to stay strong, we sometimes end up weaker. And it's not because we don't care. It's because we're told more is better. More vitamins, more strength, more protection. But your body doesn't always work that way. You probably remember the benefits of drinking enough water every day. But have you ever thought about what happens when you drink too much water? The body dilutes essential minerals. Muscles twitch. Cells swell. The same principle applies to vitamins. Especially the ones that store in fat, not water. The ones that don't flush out. The ones that linger. You step outside and the sidewalk feels harder. The slope of the street feels sharper. Your dog pulls on the leash and your knees resist. It's in those little everyday interactions that your body starts telling the truth. Not in words. In effort. One surprising fact about the human body? Your thigh muscles, the quadriceps, aren't just for walking. They act as shock absorbers for every joint above and below. Your knees, hips, even your lower back. When they weaken, your whole skeletal system adjusts, and not in your favor. Now what's even more intriguing? Muscle loss in the legs begins before you notice it. Scientists call it sarcopenia, and it can start as early as your 40s. But here's the kicker. It's not just about not moving enough. It's also about what you feed those muscles. Or what you overfeed them. Open-ended question for you. How much vitamin is too much? Experts still debate whether the recommended daily allowance is enough, or if it might already be too high for certain fat-soluble vitamins in older adults. You grab your bottle of vitamin A or D, thinking it's a daily insurance policy, but you didn't count the dose in your fortified cereal, or in your lunch, or in your multivitamin. It adds up. Meanwhile, your legs don't complain. They adapt. They support you longer than they should. Until one day, you sit down on the edge of your bed and feel a surprising pang of effort just to stand up again. So now you're wondering, is it the supplements? The food? Just life? You'll find out. But the truth starts in how you feel. That subtle soreness. That drag in your step. That growing awareness that your body might be trying to tell you something before it shouts. And here's where we stay curious. Not afraid. Not ashamed. Just curious. Because the body is brilliant. It adapts. It recovers. And you? You're here. Listening. That's where strength starts again. You ease into the morning, maybe with a little stretch or a quiet sigh as your feet touch the floor. But today your thighs feel just a bit stiffer. Not painful. Just slow. And by now you've come to expect that slowness. You've made peace with the idea that it's part of growing older. You probably even have your little rituals to deal with it. Warm showers, gentle yoga, or holding onto the wall as you tie your shoes. But what if I told you the slow fade in strength isn't just about age? Every year after 60, you lose around 3 to 5% of your muscle mass unless you actively fight it. That's not a myth, it's physiology. What makes this tricky is how quietly it happens. There's no dramatic collapse. No big warning. Just little shifts. You carry fewer grocery bags. You prefer flatter shoes. You take the elevator even if it's just one floor. Your body's ability to rebuild muscle slows down. Not because it's lazy, but because it's working with fewer raw materials. And here's something most people don't know. The aging gut becomes a little less efficient. It doesn't extract nutrients from food as quickly or completely as it once did. Protein takes longer to break down. Vitamins absorb at different rates. It's not just what you eat but what you keep. Now, that gentle fade in digestion is natural. But it gets complicated when your habits remain the same. Maybe you still skip lunch like you did in your 40s. Or maybe you rely more on toast and coffee than you'd like to admit. Over time, that missing nutrition leaves a dent. And guess where it shows up first? In your legs. Why the legs? Because they're the largest muscle groups in your body, and the most metabolically expensive. They use the most energy. They need the most upkeep. And when your diet doesn't keep pace, your body starts economizing. It lets go of what it considers non-essential muscle to preserve more critical functions like your heart and brain. You might think, but I eat. I take my supplements. I'm not skipping meals. Here's the twist. Sometimes it's not about missing something. Sometimes it's about overloading the wrong things. That's where this story gets interesting. The body's delicate balance can be disrupted by what you think are good habits. Vitamins that help in small amounts can harm in larger doses, especially fat-soluble ones that build up quietly. Unlike vitamin C, which washes out when you overdo it, vitamins A and D hang around. They set up camp in your liver and fat cells. They don't leave unless they're pushed. And while they linger, they interact with your bones, your muscles, your nerves. But more on that soon. For now, let's stay with the big picture. You're losing strength not all at once but steadily. And it's affecting your quality of life. You find it harder to stand up from a deep chair. You walk slower, not because of pain necessarily, but because your muscles aren't as responsive. Your stride shortens. Your steps feel heavier. And all the while you're thinking, this must be aging. And sure, aging plays a role. But think about this. Astronauts lose muscle mass even in their 30s and 40s when they spend too long in zero gravity. Their muscles fade not because of age, but because of a lack of resistance. No challenge. No load. No need. It's the same principle here. Your legs aren't just reacting to years. They're responding to underuse, undernourishment, and sometimes, yes, oversupplementation. You ever wonder why some seniors stay agile into their 80s, while others slow down drastically in their 60s? Genetics? Partially. But more often, it's daily choices compounded over time. Your leg strength doesn't just affect walking. It's linked to independence. Studies have shown that leg strength correlates strongly with longevity. Strong legs protect your hips, your back, your balance. When they weaken, falls happen. And those falls? They're the leading cause of injury in people over 65. So now you've got to ask yourself, if the body gives you clues, are you listening? Here's a surprising body fact. Your muscle fibers actually shrink and change type as you age. The fast-twitch fibers, those responsible for sudden movements like catching your balance, fade quicker than the slow-twitch ones. That's why reaction time drops. That's why stumbling becomes tripping. And the kicker? Once those fibers are gone, they're hard to rebuild. Not impossible. Just harder. Let's pause on something many overlook. Your nervous system coordinates your muscle response. Every time you climb stairs, Your brain sends rapid-fire instructions to your legs. Balance, tension, pressure, all in milliseconds. When muscles weaken, the nerves have to work harder. And when your diet interferes with nerve health by starving it of magnesium or potassium, for example, the whole process slows. You don't fall because your legs gave out. You fall because the signal arrived too late. Now here's a question. Do you know how well your body actually absorbs the supplements you take? Experts still debate whether supplement bioavailability is higher or lower in older adults. Some say digestion slows so we absorb less. Others argue the gut lining thins so we absorb too much. Either way, the truth is this: most people don't monitor their supplement levels. They take them on autopilot. Every day. Same dose. No blood work. No feedback. Just trust. And if your legs could speak, they might be whispering already. You notice more swelling around the ankles. You feel a strange cramp that comes and goes. You can't squat like you used to. These aren't just annoyances. They're signals. The body has a language of effort. And right now, your legs are speaking it fluently. You start looking for answers. You watch videos. Read articles. Ask your doctor. And somewhere buried under all that advice, you hear the phrase, "Too much of a good thing is still too much." So let's unpack that in the next section. Because while food choices matter and movement is critical, there's something hiding in your supplement drawer that may be doing more harm than help. Oh, you shuffle into the kitchen, drawn by the scent of fresh toast or maybe the lure of your morning ritual. A cup of coffee, a pill box on the counter, maybe a multivitamin bottle with the label nearly worn off. You barely think about it now. You've done this for years. Feels responsible, habitual, even noble. But you reach for that same vitamin each morning, unaware that the true villain may not be what's missing from your routine, but what you're adding too much of. Now, before we get to those supplements in detail, let's zoom in on something that quietly sets the stage for the damage: the food you eat. You open the fridge and scan for breakfast. White bread, maybe some jam. A leftover pastry. Something quick. But right there, in that quick decision, you're feeding the problem. It doesn't scream at you yet, but it whispers through swelling knees, slower recovery, a dragging heaviness in the legs that lingers longer than it should. Your kitchen hides silent troublemakers. They don't look evil. In fact, they're often comfort foods. Ones you've trusted for decades. But let's break them down. Start with sugar. Sweet treats, desserts, sugary drinks. Even fruit juices marketed as healthy. They spike your blood sugar quickly, which feels fine at first. Maybe even a little rush of energy. But that sugar causes your insulin to kick in hard, shuttling the glucose away and leaving you with a dip. That dip? It's one of the reasons your legs feel like they're trudging through molasses. The truth is, chronic sugar consumption isn't just about cavities or diabetes. It causes something more systemic: inflammation. And inflammation doesn't just target the heart or gut. It loves the joints, the tendons, the muscles in your legs. It creates that deep, dull ache that doesn't quite go away. It makes recovery from a simple walk or short errand longer than it should be. You probably remember how after a sugary holiday dinner, your legs just wanted to stretch out and stay still. That wasn't just fullness. That was a chemical response. Your body was sounding the alarm. Here's an interesting detail. When sugar binds to proteins in your bloodstream, it creates something called advanced glycation end products, AGEs. These little troublemakers damage collagen and elasticity, both essential for joint and muscle health. More AGEs, stiffer tissues. Stiffer tissues, weaker steps. Then there are fried foods. French fries, crispy chicken, golden brown fish fillets. They call to you like a nostalgic song. But beneath the crunch is a cocktail of trans fats, saturated fats, and oils that have been heated past their breaking point. These fats don't just clog your arteries, they interfere with your body's natural anti-inflammatory signals. That means your body can't calm itself down after stress. And walking, climbing stairs, even standing too long, all count as stressors when your leg muscles are already inflamed. You notice it when you wake up and your ankles feel tight. You stand and your knees resist. That's not just age. That's damage. Repetitive, quiet, dietary damage. And then there's white bread. Seemingly innocent. Toast with butter, a sandwich for lunch. But white bread is pure refined carbohydrate, stripped of fiber, stripped of nutrients. It causes blood sugar surges just like sugar, only sneakier. Without fiber to slow digestion, glucose floods in. Muscles get a jolt, then a crash. And like a car sputtering on bad gas, your legs respond with sluggishness, soreness, and fatigue. You didn't run a marathon, but you feel like you did. Ever wonder why your legs feel heavy after a carb-heavy meal? That's your body diverting energy toward digestion and away from muscle repair and circulation. One open-ended question still debated. Do all inflammatory foods affect everyone the same way? Experts still explore how genetics, gut bacteria, and lifestyle make some people more sensitive than others. But one thing is consistent: over time everyone pays the price. Now let's talk about one of the most common culprits you might overlook: alcohol. You pour a glass of wine at dinner. You think moderation is fine, and in many cases it is. But here's where it gets tricky. Alcohol interferes with nutrient absorption, especially magnesium, calcium, and vitamin D, three of the most essential elements for muscle strength and joint function. Imagine this. You're sipping a drink unaware that with every glass, your body's ability to hold on to bone-building minerals is quietly slipping away. And those minerals, they're vital for keeping your legs from collapsing under your own weight. Add to that the dehydrating effect of alcohol. Less water in the body means tighter, less pliable muscles. That's why you sometimes wake up with cramps after a night of drinks, even if you didn't overindulge. And when you combine alcohol with a diet that already lacks recovery nutrients, the result is a slow crumble. Your legs lose spring. Your knees lose cushion. Your calves start to twitch at rest. Let's not forget processed meats. Sausages, ham, deli slices. They're convenient. They're salty. But they're packed with nitrates and preservatives that increase inflammation, especially in older bodies where detoxification slows. These foods also contain high levels of sodium, which causes water retention. Retained water leads to swelling. Swelling adds pressure on joints and nerves. That tingling in your legs after a sandwich? It's not the mustard. It's the systemic stress. And here's one more piece of the puzzle. Instant noodles. Quick, tasty, nostalgic. But those flavor packets? Salt bombs with artificial enhancers like monosodium glutamate, MSG, which some studies link to neural excitability and inflammation. The legs, being so far from your heart, rely heavily on good circulation. Anything that disrupts blood flow, like poor vascular function caused by bad fats and sodium, means fewer nutrients, slower healing, more pain. You're not alone if you've been reaching for these foods. They're cheap, fast, familiar. But over time they build a nutritional environment that makes it easier for your legs to fail you. And when you add the wrong vitamins on top, the plot thickens. You've been told supplements are your safety net, that they'll protect you from what your diet lacks. But if your diet already leans toward inflammation, and your vitamins are piling into the mix with no oversight, you're not building safety. You're building pressure. In the next section we start to unpack that. One vitamin at a time. No scare tactics, just the truth your legs wish you knew 5 years ago. You sit down on the edge of your bed, gently lowering yourself like you've learned to do lately. It's not that you're in pain exactly. It's just that your legs don't quite bounce back anymore. You hesitate before standing, bracing a little with your arms. Maybe you've told yourself, it's just what happens after 60. And yes, aging plays a part, but not the whole part. Because your muscles? They're not just tired. They're underfed. Not starved, but underfed in the specific ways that matter. It's like giving a plant sunlight without water, or a car fuel without oil. Something essential is missing, and your body's been quietly adjusting around that absence. Muscles crave more than movement. They need the right raw materials: proteins, minerals, hydration, and rest. But when your intake lacks precision, your body goes into triage mode. It prioritizes, trims the non-essential, and that often includes the very muscles that keep you upright, stable, and mobile. You probably know by now, protein builds muscle. That's common knowledge. But did you know that after 60, your body becomes less efficient at using protein? What worked in your 40s no longer suffices. It's called anabolic resistance, and it means your muscles don't respond to protein as effectively. So while your plate might look fine, your absorption and synthesis lag behind. Let's say you have toast and an egg for breakfast. That egg might deliver 6 grams of protein, but your body might only convert a portion of it toward rebuilding muscle. The rest? It's either used elsewhere or wasted. And if you're pairing that egg with white bread or jam, you're adding sugar that competes with nutrients for attention and causes more inflammation. The result? Muscles get weaker, even when you're technically eating right. Here's another twist: hydration. Muscles are mostly water, up to 79%. When you're even mildly dehydrated, muscle performance plummets. Coordination dips. Strength wanes. You may feel this as sluggishness or as unexpected cramps. And yet, most people over 60 don't drink enough water. Not because they forget, but because thirst cues fade with age. You take fewer sips. You assume you're fine. Meanwhile, your muscles are operating like a wilted flower, technically alive, but far from thriving. Surprising fact? A mere 2% drop in hydration can lead to a noticeable decline in muscle endurance. Let's shift to magnesium. It doesn't get the spotlight like calcium or vitamin D, but your muscles are obsessed with it. It plays a starring role in muscle relaxation. Without it, your legs can contract, but they don't release easily. That's when you feel the tension that lingers, the calves that cramp, the stiffness that never quite fades. And here's where it gets complicated. High doses of vitamin D or calcium, which many seniors take, can interfere with magnesium absorption. So even if you're eating greens or taking a magnesium supplement, it might not be doing its job because something else is hogging the spotlight. That's how imbalance works. One nutrient in excess quietly steps on the toes of another. The result? A leg that twitches. A thigh that tires too quickly. An ankle that swells after a walk. Open-ended question: is it better to supplement a little of everything or focus only on what your labs say you're low on? Experts still debate the best strategy. Some say a broad approach prevents deficiencies. Others warn that guessing creates new problems. Back to food, because while supplements have their place, what you eat builds the foundation. Take leafy greens. They're loaded with potassium and magnesium, which support muscle contractions and fluid balance. But if your dinner plate leans more toward processed carbs and less toward real, vibrant plants, your muscles lose out. Nuts and seeds? They provide healthy fats and critical minerals. But they're often skipped in favor of crackers or chips, foods that inflame, not nourish. Let's not forget omega-3s. These fatty acids, found in fish like salmon or sardines, reduce muscle inflammation and help cell membranes function. But if you're avoiding fish because of the smell or the bones, you could be missing out on a major player in leg strength. Here's a visual. Picture your muscles like a bridge. Protein forms the beams. Magnesium and potassium are the support cables. Water is the oil that keeps it flexible. And anti-inflammatory nutrients? They're the maintenance crew. Without that crew, rust builds. Without oil, parts grind. Without beams, the whole thing collapses. This is why your legs feel shaky some mornings. Why stairs feel like mountains. It's not just age. It's erosion, quiet and chemical. You might not feel the difference day to day. But week to week, month to month, year to year, it accumulates. Like small cracks in the sidewalk that eventually trip you. And when your legs aren't fed properly, your posture shifts. You lean forward more. You shuffle. You avoid bending. Your knees bear more weight than they should. Your hips tighten to compensate. Suddenly, it's not just weak muscles, it's compromised mechanics. What starts in your diet spreads to how you move, how you stand, how you exist. Have you ever stood in the grocery line, shifted your weight from one foot to another, and felt that dull burn in your calves? That's your body reminding you, it's working harder than it should to hold you up. And when you layer in supplements without understanding the full picture, especially the ones we're about to dissect, you're adding pressure, not support. It's like trying to fix a broken chair with too many screws in the wrong places. It doesn't hold. It wobbles. And eventually it gives. But the good news? Muscles respond even now. They love attention. They thrive on the right fuel. They grow back when given the chance. But only if the building blocks are in place. So next time you stand up, feel your legs. Not with judgment, but with curiosity. What are they telling you? And what are you feeding them in return? Because in the next section, we'll start to explore how even the most well-meaning supplement can undo everything you've just tried to rebuild. You grab a little something sweet after lunch, maybe a cookie, maybe just a spoon of ice cream. It feels harmless, right? Just a small indulgence. But later, as you get up from the couch, that familiar heaviness in your legs returns. A tightness in the knees, a slight drag in the thighs. You tell yourself it's nothing. But your body is connecting dots your brain hasn't acknowledged yet. Comfort food. What a gentle term for such a sneaky accomplice. It's not just about calories. It's about chemistry, what happens inside your muscles, your blood vessels, and your joints every time you reach for a treat. Because many of these comfort foods do the opposite of comfort, they create discomfort over time. Quietly, persistently, especially after 60. You've likely heard that sugar causes inflammation. But what does that really mean for your legs? It means your body is constantly trying to clean up the mess that refined sugar leaves behind. When your blood sugar spikes, your body scrambles to release insulin and control it. But the rapid rise and fall of blood glucose creates a cycle of inflammation that impacts muscle tissue directly. And here's where it hurts, literally. Inflammation attracts water to tissues, making them swell. Swollen muscles and joints are not flexible. They don't perform. They don't bounce back. They feel stiff, sore, or fatigued after minimal use. You may not see it in your reflection, but you feel it with every stair climbed and every step taken after sitting too long. There's also a metabolic twist. Excess sugar is often stored as fat. Not just around your belly or hips, but as visceral fat, fat that surrounds your organs and creeps into muscle tissues. This fat weakens muscle performance and disrupts the way your legs use energy. One surprising detail about your body? Your muscles store a significant amount of glucose in the form of glycogen. But when you overload your system with sugar, you disrupt that balance. The muscles stop storing energy efficiently, leading to fatigue even after simple tasks. You probably remember how energizing sugar felt when you were younger. Quick boost. Quick smile. But now the crash hits harder. The legs grow heavier. You may even feel slightly dizzy or unsteady because your muscles aren't just tired, they're under siege. And it's not just sugar. Let's talk about fried food. The golden, crispy outside. The satisfying crunch. French fries, chicken wings, onion rings, they all deliver dopamine hits to the brain. You feel good in the moment. But your legs? They're storing the consequences. Fried foods are loaded with oxidized fats, especially when the oils are reused or overheated. These fats enter your bloodstream and create something called oxidative stress. That's a fancy way of saying they attack your cells, including muscle cells, and impair how well they function. Over time, this leads to a breakdown of mitochondria. And if you haven't heard that word since high school biology, let's refresh. Mitochondria are the energy factories inside your cells. Less function there means less power in your steps. Less ability to recover from activity. Less resilience in your day-to-day movements. And those trans fats? The ones often found in processed snacks and deep-fried foods? They're inflammatory nightmares. They make your blood stickier, your arteries narrower, and your muscles weaker. Not because they hurt right away, but because they change the way your body heals. You may have noticed it already. You eat fried food and wake up the next morning with stiff knees. Or your ankles swell a bit more than usual. That's not coincidence. That's cause and effect. Even more subtle are the processed comfort foods that line pantry shelves. Boxed cakes, snack bars, frozen pastries. Many are filled with hydrogenated oils, artificial flavors, and shelf stabilizers, things that don't spoil easily, but also don't digest easily. These ingredients linger in your gut, interfere with nutrient absorption, and trigger inflammatory signals throughout the body. One open-ended question scientists still explore: how much of inflammation is driven by gut health versus dietary fats? Some believe it's a perfect storm, bad fats damaging the gut, which then triggers systemic inflammation that targets your joints and muscles. So where does this leave your legs? Well, imagine a day when you've eaten toast in the morning, a sandwich with deli meat at lunch, and some crackers or dessert in the afternoon. Maybe dinner involves a fried protein or boxed side dish. Each of these individually feels small, but together they form a pattern, a landscape of chronic stress on your muscles and joints. By bedtime, you might feel tired because it's late, but your legs are already aching from the inside out. Not from walking. Not from exercise. Just from processing what you've eaten. And that processing burden adds up. Every bite your body has to fight against steals energy from muscle maintenance, blood flow regulation, and joint cushioning. You notice the difference in how long it takes you to get out of a chair. You stop taking walks as often because your legs feel unpredictable. You start avoiding stairs. And before long, the legs grow weaker, not from age, but from lack of use, driven by discomfort that came from food choices, not genetics. Here's the kicker. This cycle often leads people to increase their supplement intake. You feel weaker, so you take more vitamin D. Your knees hurt, so you try vitamin A or bone health combo. You don't feel any better, so you add in a protein shake. But without changing what's undermining your system, those pills and powders go to war inside your bloodstream. sometimes fighting each other instead of helping you. So ask yourself, are you fueling your muscles or fighting them? Are your comfort foods creating discomfort? Are your daily choices supporting your strength or silently taking it away? There's no guilt here. No blame. We all reach for ease. We all want pleasure in our meals. But when your body starts whispering its needs through aching legs and stiff knees, it's asking you to listen. And the message is clear. Build strength from the inside out. Nourish. Hydrate. Remove the quiet enemies posing as comfort. Because in the next section, we finally turn to the supplements themselves, starting with the one you probably trust the most, but may not fully understand, vitamin A. You sit at your kitchen table, a small orange bottle in front of you, labeled vitamin A. The label promises eye health, immunity, even skin support. It sounds harmless, helpful even. So you pop one each day, thinking you're doing your future self a favor. After all, your eyesight's not what it used to be, and your joints sometimes ache. Better safe than sorry, right? But here's what most people don't realize. Vitamin A, while essential in small doses, becomes toxic when taken in excess. And the scary part? That toxicity doesn't announce itself with a bang. It creeps. It builds. And it shows up, very often, in your legs. Now your body does need vitamin A. You can't skip it. It helps regulate immune function, support skin cell turnover, and yes, it contributes to healthy vision. But the catch? Vitamin A is fat-soluble. That means it doesn't flush out easily with urine like vitamin C does. Instead, it stores in your liver, slowly building up over weeks, months, even years. So if you're taking a daily multivitamin, maybe an extra supplement for your eyes, and eating fortified foods like cereals or dairy, you might be giving your body way more vitamin A than it needs. And your liver? It's quietly holding on to that surplus. The moment your body has more vitamin A than it can handle, the damage begins. You won't feel it right away. Maybe just a bit more fatigue. Maybe a subtle soreness in your joints or lower back. But eventually your muscles, especially in your legs, start to protest. One widely known fact, excessive vitamin A can lead to a condition called hypervitaminosis A. It's a real medical diagnosis, and it comes with symptoms like muscle aches, joint pain, brittle bones, and even vision issues, the very thing you were trying to prevent. Here's something surprising. One of the earliest signs of vitamin A overload is muscle pain in the legs and back. Not sharp, stabbing pain, but a persistent, achy fatigue that doesn't go away with rest. You wake up feeling like you've already been walking. You move slowly, not from stiffness, but from weakness. Your knees feel oddly unstable, as if the strength behind them has dimmed. You try stretching, drinking water, taking a walk, but the discomfort lingers. Why? Because excess vitamin A causes inflammation in the very muscle tissues it's supposed to support. It also interferes with the absorption of other crucial nutrients, especially magnesium and calcium. When those levels dip, muscles cramp, spasm, and weaken. And your legs? They carry the brunt of it. Now imagine this scenario. You're already eating a diet with occasional processed food, your absorption rate for nutrients is declining due to age, and you've unknowingly stacked up vitamin A from several sources. You may not be in immediate danger, but your legs are waving a flag. You might think, but I thought vitamin A was natural, doesn't it come from carrots? Yes, it does. But the form of vitamin A in carrots and vegetables is beta-carotene. It's water-soluble and much safer because your body only converts what it needs into active vitamin A. The trouble begins with preformed vitamin A, the type found in animal products, liver, fish oil capsules, and mini supplements. That form is already active and your body doesn't regulate its absorption. It just stores it. Open-ended question, should we rethink how we supplement fat-soluble vitamins based on age? Some researchers argue that older adults absorb and retain these nutrients differently, potentially making standard dosages too high for some. Let's revisit how the overload physically impacts you. Excess vitamin A softens bones over time. It disrupts the balance between bone creation and bone destruction. That leads to fragility, especially in weight-bearing areas like your hips, thighs, and knees. So now you're walking across the house and your knee suddenly gives. Or you go to squat and feel an odd twinge in your thigh. Your body isn't just getting old. It's being thrown off balance by a well-meaning supplement routine that's gone unchecked. It's important to understand that none of this happens in isolation. Vitamin A doesn't work alone. It's part of a complex network of nutrients. When one goes rogue, when there's too much, it starts stealing from others. Magnesium drops. Calcium gets displaced. Your nerves misfire. Your muscle response slows. The chain reaction lands directly in your legs. You begin to feel heavier. Not in weight but in motion. Your legs seem to resist you. Your energy doesn't reach them the way it used to. You can still walk, sure. But every trip up the stairs, every rising from a chair, feels like just a little too much effort. It's in these moments that vitamin A becomes not a helper, but a hurdle. You may also notice other red flags: dry skin, brittle nails, even hair thinning. These are signs your body is saturated, that your internal balance has tilted, that something you believed was helpful has become a stressor. Let's take a pause here. Have you ever tallied how much vitamin A you get from all sources: food, supplements, drinks, even energy snacks with hidden additives? You might be shocked. The recommended daily allowance for older adults is about 700 micrograms for women and 900 micrograms for men. But a single serving of beef liver? Over 6,000 micrograms. Add a multivitamin and a fortified cereal, and you're doubling or tripling the recommended intake without realizing it. And because your body stores the excess, the harm accumulates silently. Especially in your legs, where muscle tissue is dense and activity is high. But here's the good news. This isn't irreversible. Your body is resilient. Once you identify the overload and cut back, your liver gradually clears the excess. Your magnesium and calcium balance can restore. Your muscles begin to heal. Strength returns slowly but steadily. Think of it like pruning a plant. You've overfed it, and now it's time to reset. To give your muscles a break from the chemical noise. To choose smarter, gentler sources of the nutrients you need. In the next section, we'll look at the other side of this coin. The vitamin that's often touted as the holy grail for seniors, vitamin D. It's praised for protecting bones, boosting mood, and preventing falls. But too much? That's a different story. One that, just like with vitamin A, often begins with aching legs and ends in compromised health. The sun streams through your window as you sip your morning coffee and you think, I should get outside today. Get some vitamin D. Or maybe you've already beaten the sun to it with a once daily soft gel you picked up at the pharmacy. It promises strong bones, immune support, and better mood. Who doesn't want all of that? But here's where the story bends. Because while vitamin D is essential, and yes, many seniors are deficient, too much of it is a different beast. One that creeps in silently, starts small, and often tells its tale through your legs. Let's unpack why vitamin D is so praised in the first place. You've probably heard the basics. It helps your body absorb calcium, supports your immune system, and may reduce the risk of fractures as you age. And all of that is true. But what most people don't hear about, the flip side, the overdose risks, the way excess vitamin D can cause calcium to go rogue, flowing where it shouldn't, into your joints, your muscles, and even your soft tissues. Vitamin D is another fat-soluble vitamin. Like vitamin A, it doesn't exit easily when you've had too much. It's stored, kept, accumulated, especially if you're taking high-dose supplements or combining D-rich foods with fortified snacks and daily multivitamins. The first sign of trouble? Your legs feel stiff. Not sore from a walk, not achy from exercise, just oddly tight. Like your muscles are resisting movement. Like there's a mild cramp that never fully sets in but never really leaves. That tightness is often the body's response to elevated calcium levels, also known as hypercalcemia, one of the hallmark signs of vitamin D overload. When there's too much D in your system, your body absorbs more calcium than it needs. And instead of going to your bones where it belongs, that calcium can deposit in your arteries, muscles, and even your kidneys. Here's a widely known fact. Vitamin D toxicity doesn't usually come from the sun or food. It almost always stems from excessive supplementation. Taking more than 4,000 IU per day for an extended period can lead to this kind of toxicity, and many over-the-counter pills offer that amount or more in a single dose. So while you're swallowing it daily, hoping to boost your strength, you might actually be increasing the very weakness you're trying to prevent. One surprising detail? The body doesn't regulate vitamin D absorption the same way it does with water-soluble vitamins. There's no exit ramp. If your stores are full, the body doesn't politely say no thanks. It keeps absorbing, keeps storing, and eventually starts hurting. That's when the symptoms kick in. You feel them in your legs first because those muscles are large and used constantly. You might feel cramps that strike in the middle of the night, a heaviness that doesn't match your weight, or a burning tightness in your thighs and calves after simple activities like walking up a short slope or standing in the kitchen. And here's something most people don't associate with vitamin D: coordination loss. Excessive D can affect your neuromuscular system. It slows down the communication between nerves and muscles. This delay might be milliseconds, but in balance and mobility, milliseconds matter. That's how you stumble on a curb, miss a step on the stairs, or feel your foot drag when it shouldn't. Open-ended question experts still explore. Can long-term high-dose vitamin D impact muscle elasticity and recovery rate even after toxicity is resolved? Some believe yes. Others suggest the body bounces back completely. But everyone agrees the damage, while reversible, is avoidable. You might remember hearing that vitamin D helps prevent falls in older adults. And that's not untrue. But only when it's used properly. When it's taken in reasonable doses, usually in the range of 800 to 2000 IU daily, and paired with magnesium and vitamin K2 to ensure calcium goes where it's supposed to. Because here's the issue. High vitamin D levels without enough K2 means calcium can settle into soft tissues. That includes your arteries, your kidneys, and yes, your leg muscles and joints. It turns a supportive nutrient into a source of pain. Now think back. Have you felt any new tension in your knees? A weird pull in your hamstrings after doing nothing strenuous? Do your feet feel crampy in the evenings? Or your ankles stiffer than usual? These are early signs. And they're not always loud. They hum in the background of your daily routine. Quiet reminders that something's off. The scariest part? Most people don't monitor their vitamin D levels once they start supplementing. They assume more is better. That if 1000 IU helps, 5000 IU must supercharge the benefits. But that's not how nutrients work. That's how overdoses begin. You may even have started doubling up during winter or cold season. Or your doctor suggested it once, but months later you're still taking the same high dose even though your needs may have changed. Another place vitamin D affects your legs? Soft tissue calcification. Over time, too much calcium in the wrong places makes muscles less flexible. You can't stretch the way you used to. You get winded faster. Your legs don't push off the ground with the same energy. They don't rebound. You may notice this most when walking uphill or carrying groceries. Tasks that once felt easy now feel disproportionate to the effort involved. And once your kidneys are involved, the whole system gets shakier. Because they're responsible for filtering calcium and managing electrolyte balance. If your vitamin D is too high for too long, your kidneys take a hit. And weakened kidney function adds another layer of trouble. Water retention, leg swelling, fatigue. One more detail that connects the dots. Low magnesium levels can worsen vitamin D toxicity. And magnesium, as we discussed earlier, is often low in older adults. So even if you're not technically overdosing on D, you're missing its partner. And that imbalance causes issues all the same. Think of it this way: vitamin D opens the door for calcium. But without magnesium and K2 acting as ushers, calcium wanders, crashes the wrong party, and your muscles pay the price. So here's your reality check. If you've been taking vitamin D for a while, especially in high doses, and your legs feel worse, not better, it might be time to test your levels, to reassess, to rebalance. Because vitamin D isn't the enemy. Too much is. And in the next section we'll explore how your kidneys, the body's quiet cleanup crew, start signaling that they're overwhelmed. And how that signal often arrives first, in your legs. You're standing at the sink, rinsing dishes or brushing your teeth, and you notice it again. Your ankles feel puffy, your calves a little stiff. The discomfort isn't sharp. It's more like a quiet resistance, as if your legs are holding onto something. And in a way they are. Because down deep, your kidneys are whispering, "We're overwhelmed." Your kidneys are marvels of engineering. These bean-shaped organs filter about 50 gallons of blood a day, removing waste, balancing electrolytes, regulating blood pressure, and keeping your fluids just right. But they're also fragile, especially under pressure from years of nutrient imbalances, medications, and yes, oversupplementation. When you take too much vitamin D, or vitamin A for that matter, your kidneys are on the front lines, managing the overflow of calcium and toxins. That extra calcium, encouraged by high levels of D, floods the bloodstream. Normally, some of it goes to your bones, where it's helpful. But the rest? The kidneys have to deal with it. They try to flush it out. But if you're chronically overloading them, they can't keep up. The result is calcium buildup where it doesn't belong, especially in soft tissues like your legs. And that leads to swelling, fluid retention, cramping, and a deep muscular fatigue that doesn't seem tied to activity. You haven't run a marathon. You haven't even done yard work. But your legs act like you have. Surprising detail? Mild kidney dysfunction often presents no noticeable symptoms at first. You don't feel pain. You don't see warning lights. What you get is bloating, puffy ankles, sudden stiffness in your calves, and fatigue that doesn't match your day. You might chalk it up to salty food or just getting older. But your kidneys are sending signals, and your legs are where they choose to deliver the message. You probably remember the advice to drink plenty of water for healthy kidneys. And it's good advice. But hydration alone won't protect you from the burden of nutrient overload. When vitamin D pushes calcium too high, or vitamin A alters your mineral balance, the kidneys struggle regardless of how much water you drink. You might even notice that you wake up more often at night to pee, or that your urine seems darker, more concentrated. These are subtle signs that your filtration system is under stress. And here's where it loops back to muscle function. When your kidneys aren't working optimally, they can't regulate key minerals like potassium, sodium, and magnesium. And your muscles? They rely on those to contract and relax properly. So what happens? You get cramps. Not the sharp ones that scream, but the dull ones that whisper all day. You feel weaker, but you can't explain why. And worst of all, you feel like your energy is leaking not from fatigue, but from inefficiency. Open-ended questions still being studied. Can long-term low-level kidney stress from oversupplementation lead to chronic leg weakness in otherwise healthy adults? Early studies suggest the connection is stronger than we once thought. And here's the hard part. Many older adults take multiple supplements and medications. Blood pressure pills, cholesterol meds, maybe a diuretic. Add in high-dose vitamin D, daily calcium, and a multivitamin with vitamin A, and suddenly your kidneys are juggling a biochemical circus. It's no wonder your legs feel off. They're connected to every piece of this puzzle. Let's pause here for a moment and ask, how often do you check your supplement dosages? Do you know the exact amount of vitamin D or vitamin A you're taking daily from all sources? Have you had your blood levels tested recently? Most people haven't. Not because they're careless, because they trust the labels. The problem is, supplements don't come with automatic warnings. They don't say, caution, may cause leg swelling if taken in excess. But your kidneys say it. They say it through how hard your legs have to work to carry you, through how easily your feet swell, through how much longer it takes to recover from a short walk or light cleaning. Here's another connection you may not have considered: blood pressure. Your kidneys regulate it. And when they're under stress, your blood pressure can climb. That increase puts more strain on blood vessels, especially in your legs, where circulation is already battling gravity. Poor circulation leads to cold feet, numb toes, and that pins and needles feeling that seems to arrive out of nowhere. You stretch. You shake your legs. But the sensation stays. Because it's not just about posture. It's about pressure inside and out. And then there's the fatigue. When your kidneys are overloaded, your body diverts energy away from muscle repair. It focuses on flushing, not building. So your legs get weaker, not from lack of use, but from lack of recovery. You ever notice that after a long nap, you don't feel refreshed but heavier? That's your body choosing maintenance over muscle. Your kidneys trying to catch up while your legs quietly degrade. But this isn't about fear. It's about feedback. Your body gives you information. Every day. Through sensation, stamina, and swelling. The question is, are you listening? Your legs are brilliant at adapting. They compensate. They shift your weight. They slow your pace to protect joints. But eventually they can't hide the strain. And your kidneys? They've been holding up their end for decades. But even they have limits. Especially when the math of your nutrient intake is off. So what can you do? First, reevaluate your supplements. Not just what you take, but how much, how often, and why. Are you solving a problem, or just hoping to prevent one? Are you basing your choices on lab work, or on the bottle's marketing? Second, hydrate, but not just with water. Eat water-rich foods. Support your kidneys with anti-inflammatory meals, berries, greens, cucumber, and lemon water. Third, listen to your legs. When they feel off, ask what you've been feeding them. What have they been tasked with carrying? What burden are they bearing that isn't physical? Because in the next section, we'll take a closer look at how all of this builds, how your choices around vitamins, hydration, and food create a chain reaction under the skin. One that leads directly to the strength or softness in every step you take. You sit back in your chair, trying to stretch out that tension creeping through your thighs. Maybe it's the third time today you've done it. Maybe you've lost count. The sensation isn't sharp, it's dull, like your muscles are holding their breath. And the more you notice it, the more you wonder what's really going on beneath your skin. Because what you're feeling isn't just tiredness. It's the result of a chain reaction. The body doesn't operate in isolation. Every nutrient, every organ, every decision creates ripples. And when those ripples collide, that's when the trouble starts, especially in your legs, where circulation, muscle strength, nerve signals, and pressure all intersect. So let's trace this backward. You've been taking vitamin A. You've been taking vitamin D. Separately, they serve important roles. But together, and especially in excess, they can create a perfect storm. Vitamin A, when stored in high levels, leads to bone demineralization. Your legs start to lose that solid base, the foundation beneath your muscles weakens, making every step more taxing. Then vitamin D, taken at high doses, tells your body to absorb more calcium, flooding your bloodstream with minerals that need a place to go. Calcium doesn't always behave. Without proper guidance from vitamin K2 or magnesium, it settles where it shouldn't, into the soft tissues, the arteries, the muscle fibers. That means your thighs become less pliable, your calves stiffer, your range of motion tighter. And when you try to walk it off, it walks right back with you. One widely known fact: healthy muscles rely on balance. Not just in movement, but in minerals. Too much calcium and not enough magnesium spells disaster. Magnesium is what allows muscles to relax. Calcium helps them contract. Without that rhythm, you get tightness, spasms, and fatigue. Think of your leg muscles like an orchestra. Every nutrient plays a part. Vitamin A is the composer, it tells the story. Vitamin D is the conductor, it cues the sections. Calcium, magnesium, and potassium are the instruments. But if one is too loud, if calcium starts blasting out of turn, the whole composition suffers. Now picture yourself going about your day. You walk to the store, you stand at the counter, you sweep the kitchen. Each task draws from that muscular symphony. But instead of harmony, you feel resistance. Not because you're weak. Because your muscles are confused. You probably remember the satisfying stretch of a morning walk in your younger years. Legs that sprang into action. Steps that felt automatic. But now, your body hesitates. Your muscles negotiate every move. And it's not always because of age. It's because something is blocking their natural rhythm. What's more, that imbalance doesn't just stay in your legs. Your hips start to ache because they're compensating. Your lower back strains because it's carrying more load. Your feet cramp because your calves can't fully support your steps. And all of it circles back to how your body is processing or misprocessing nutrients you thought were helping. Here's a surprising detail. Soft tissue calcification isn't limited to joints. It can happen in tendons and even small blood vessels. That's why your legs may sometimes feel cold, then hot. Why they feel numb after sitting too long, then tingly when you move. It's not just bad circulation, it's biochemical interference. And while all of this is happening, your nervous system is trying to keep up. Nerves rely on minerals too. Sodium and potassium help fire signals. Magnesium helps calm them down. But if vitamin D has pulled too much calcium into your bloodstream, and if your magnesium is low, which it often is in older adults, those signals get scrambled. That's when your feet suddenly feel heavy. Your reaction time slows. You miss a step. You catch yourself, but the message was delayed. Not by seconds. Just by fractions of a second. But in balance, that's everything. Open-ended questions scientists still explore. How reversible is soft tissue calcification once it begins? Some studies suggest dietary changes in certain therapies can reduce it. Others say prevention is key. Either way, early detection through sensation, not scans, is the first line of defense. So what do you feel? Are your legs sore in the morning? Do your calves tighten when you climb stairs? Does your balance feel off for no clear reason? These aren't random events. They're signs. Like creaks in a house before a floorboard gives. You've been strong your whole life. You've carried weight, supported others, stood tall. But now your legs are asking you to look deeper. To question the stack of supplements on your shelf. To consider how two well-intended vitamins might be colliding under the surface. Let's take a closer look at movement. You might find yourself avoiding certain motions. Bending down feels harder. Getting off the couch takes effort. Not because your muscles are absent, but because they're blocked. Stiffened. Confused. They're being asked to perform without their proper tools. Imagine trying to write with a pencil whose eraser is smeared with glue. It's still a pencil. It still looks functional. But it doesn't behave right. That's your muscle on nutrient imbalance. It's still there, but it's not responsive the way it used to be. And the problem isn't lack of effort. It's miscommunication. Every time you supplement with vitamin A or D without knowing your actual levels, you risk dialing up one nutrient while suppressing another. You create internal noise, static in the system. And over time, that static drowns out the signals your legs depend on. The result? You move slower. You feel less stable. You begin to doubt your own strength. But and this is crucial, your body can recover. With the right balance, muscles become responsive again. With the right support, nerves fire faster. With less internal noise, your steps get lighter. So pause for a moment. Not to blame yourself, but to listen. What have your legs been telling you lately? What stories are they carrying from your diet, your supplements, your choices? And how can you help them shift from silence to strength? Because in the next section, we confront a hard truth, that many of us are following routines we thought were healthy, routines that feel good, seem right, but are quietly leading us away from wellness. And once we see that truth clearly, we can change course with clarity, not fear. You take a deep breath before heading out the door. Just a quick trip, maybe to the mailbox, maybe the corner store. But halfway there, your thighs start to tighten. You feel a strange fatigue in your calves. Not exhaustion, just resistance. It's the sense that your body's doing more work than it should, and not getting the return you expect. You push through because that's what you've always done. But somewhere deep down you wonder, is this just aging, or am I doing something wrong? And that's the question that brings us here. Because many of us, especially after 60, build our daily routines around preservation. We take our vitamins. We eat what we know. We trust the habits that feel familiar. We assume that if something worked in the past, it must still be working now. But here's the hard truth. Your body has changed. And some of the routines you rely on may now be working against you. Let's start with supplementation. Feels like a safety net. You're told that the older body doesn't absorb nutrients as well, so topping up makes sense. But what if you're topping up nutrients that aren't low to begin with? What if you're reinforcing an imbalance? You pop a multivitamin that contains both vitamin A and D. Maybe you add a separate D supplement because someone said it's good for your bones. You throw in a joint support pill, fortified with calcium. Then breakfast. Cereal fortified with A and D. A little dairy. Some fortified orange juice. Individually, each of these choices feels small. But together, they become a biochemical traffic jam. And your legs, the longest, heaviest limbs in your body, end up stuck in that jam every single day. One widely known fact. Many people get more vitamin D than they need from non-obvious sources. Fortified foods, protein shakes, and even plant milks are dosed heavily. When you add supplements on top, you're often exceeding safe levels without realizing it. And vitamin A? Sneaks in everywhere. Liver spreads. Fish oils. Some skin creams even contain it, meaning your body can absorb it through your skin. Over time, that accumulation adds up. Quietly, you think you're protecting yourself, but instead you're applying pressure from every direction. On your muscles, your bones, your nerves. So let's break it down. You wake up. Your legs feel stiff. You attribute it to sleep. You stretch and stand. Your balance feels off. Maybe it's the rug. You walk to the kitchen. Your knees crack. Must be the weather. You grab your supplements. You trust them. And yet your symptoms linger. Maybe they worsen. Here's what's happening inside. Excess vitamin A has slowly undermined your bone density, weakening the framework that supports your leg muscles. Too much vitamin D has hijacked calcium, rerouting it into muscles and soft tissue, leaving your joints tight and your recovery slow. Your kidneys, overworked by this constant nutrient load, have started signaling distress through swelling, fatigue, and poor filtration. Your muscles, starved of magnesium and other cofactors due to imbalanced supplementation, are firing unpredictably. That's not aging. That's confusion. Your legs feel heavy not just because they've changed, but because they're carrying the weight of choices that no longer serve you. And the scariest part? These are choices you made with the best intentions. Open-ended questions still being researched. Can long-term oversupplementation alter your body's regulatory mechanisms, making it harder to maintain equilibrium even after stopping? Some researchers say yes. Others argue the body is incredibly adaptive. What's clear is this: the longer the imbalance, the longer the recovery. But there is recovery. Your muscles haven't given up on you. They're simply asking for clarity, for consistency, for support, not overload. Let's revisit something important. More is not always better. In fact, the concept of nutritional minimalism is gaining traction. It suggests that rather than stacking supplements blindly, we tailor them. We test our levels. We eat more intelligently. We listen more carefully. For example, instead of taking 5,000 IU of vitamin D every day just because it's winter, you could test your levels first. You may find you only need 1,000 IU or none at all. The same goes for vitamin A. If your diet is already rich in beta-carotene from carrots, spinach, or sweet potatoes, you might not need a supplement at all. So now let's turn to your habits. What do your meals look like? Are they varied? Rich in real foods? Do you build your plate around protein, fiber, and colorful vegetables? Or is it more about ease, comfort, routine? How about hydration? Are you drinking water throughout the day, or only when you remember? Are your kidneys supported with herbal teas, leafy greens, and low-sodium foods? Or are they scrambling to process the salt and additives in prepackaged meals? And movement, are your legs working enough or just barely enough? Because one of the body's most dangerous loops is this: discomfort leads to less movement leads to weaker muscles lead to more discomfort, and the cycle repeats. Doesn't have to. But breaking the loop starts with recognizing it. That cramp in your calf during the night? It's not just dehydration. It could be your body reacting to mineral imbalances caused by a supplement you didn't need. That swelling in your ankle after sitting? It's not just circulation. It could be your kidneys sending a warning signal. That feeling that you've lost power in your legs? It's not just aging. It's the sum of hundreds of micro decisions, many made in the name of health. And now it's time to recalibrate, to realize that your leg strength isn't a lost cause. That with the right information and fewer but smarter choices, you can turn things around. In the next section, we go deeper into the relationship between those supplements and your bone-muscle connection. A vital link that determines not just how you stand, but how long you stay standing. Because your independence doesn't begin with movement. It begins with balance, inside and out. You reach down to tie your shoe and something catches, your balance, your breath, or maybe just that uneasy feeling in your thigh. You pause for a second. It's not painful exactly, just tight, slightly off. You stand slowly, adjusting your posture, and feel the subtle shift in your hips as your legs realign under your weight. That moment, brief and almost unnoticeable, reveals something far more important than you think. Because your body isn't made up of isolated systems. Bones don't exist separately from muscles. Joints don't operate without nerves. And supplements don't function in a vacuum. They enter a tightly woven ecosystem, and sometimes they tip the scales in ways you never intended. At the center of this balance is something you rarely think about but rely on every day: the bone-muscle connection. This isn't just anatomical, it's biochemical. Your bones provide the structure, yes, but your muscles, tendons, and ligaments give that structure purpose. They animate your frame. And when one part of that partnership weakens, the whole system compensates. Here's the catch. Both vitamin A and D play roles in that partnership. But when taken excessively, they can quietly unravel it. Let's start with vitamin A. In high doses, it can stimulate bone resorption. That means it tells your body to break down old bone faster than new bone is built. Normally, this is a balanced cycle. But if your intake of vitamin A surpasses your needs, and you're not getting enough vitamin K2, magnesium, or exercise to balance the process, your bones become porous, weak. And what holds up your muscles? That's right, your bones. You can strengthen your thighs all day long, but if your hip bones are thinning, that strength won't translate into power. It becomes superficial, fragile. Now let's bring vitamin D into the picture. It encourages calcium absorption. Sounds great, right? Except, as you know by now, if that calcium doesn't go to the right places, it deposits into the wrong ones: arteries, kidneys, and yes, your muscles. Especially the ones that surround and support your bones. One widely known fact: calcium is essential for strong bones. But its effectiveness depends on where it ends up. Surprising detail? When calcium builds up in soft tissues, it leads to myofascial stiffness. a condition where your muscles and connective tissue lose flexibility. Your legs don't glide the way they used to. Movements that should feel smooth start to feel jerky, awkward, slightly forced. That's the vitamin overload showing its hand. It's most noticeable during transitions, standing from sitting, stepping up onto a curb, shifting weight from one foot to another. The parts of the body that used to work together now feel out of sync. And it's not your imagination. What's happening is structural miscommunication. Your femur, the largest bone in your body, connects directly to your pelvis and supports every motion your legs make. But it doesn't work alone. It's surrounded by the quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, and tendons. When any of these are inflamed, stiffened, or mineral-loaded, the mechanics of walking change. Your step shortens. Your stride slows. You hesitate when turning. Over time, this leads to compensatory posture, where your upper body leans forward to relieve pressure. Your shoulders hunch. Your back curves. And your entire center of gravity shifts. That's not just cosmetic, it's a fall risk. Open-ended question that still puzzles researchers. To what extent do nutrient imbalances accelerate postural degradation in aging adults? We know diet affects muscles. We know it affects bone density. But the full impact of micronutrient overload on structural integrity? Still unfolding. But here's what's clear. When you take too much of certain vitamins, you don't just risk toxicity. You risk subtle, cascading changes in how your body supports itself. Let's bring this home with a simple example. You take your vitamin D supplement daily. It's strong 5,000 IU. Maybe you double it in the winter. You read that it helps your immune system, so you don't worry. You also drink milk and eat cheese regularly. Maybe even add a calcium supplement, just to be safe. Now imagine your body is receiving 150% of the calcium it actually needs, but you're not getting enough vitamin K2, which helps direct calcium into bones. And you're also low in magnesium, which helps prevent tissue calcification. What happens? Your bones might not get stronger. Instead, your arteries stiffen. Your quads tighten. Your calves cramp. Your tendons lose stretch. Your legs, the same ones you rely on to climb stairs, carry groceries, or steady yourself in the shower, become uncooperative. Not because of inactivity, but because of internal misplacement. It's like trying to build a bridge with all the materials in the wrong places. Too much concrete on one side, no support cables on the other. The structure might look complete, but it can't handle weight. And your body is carrying weight every minute of every day. So what do you feel? You feel an odd pressure behind your knees, a strange tension in your thighs after a short walk. You notice your legs don't push off the ground the way they used to. There's less spring, less response. You adjust your pace instinctively without even realizing it. But the body does realize. It adapts. It protects. And in doing so, it gradually withdraws from the movement patterns that used to define your independence. So now what? Now you reimagine strength. You understand that leg strength isn't just about exercise. It's about balance. That every pill, every meal, every day of oversupplementation builds on the last. But that means every better decision does too. You start by questioning the doses. You bring intention back to your routine. You choose real food more often. You get your vitamin D from sunlight and moderate food sources. You let go of the more is better myth. And slowly your body responds. Your legs feel lighter. Your steps smoother. The stiffness eases. You trust your footing again. Because when muscles and bones work in harmony, when the chemistry behind your movement is clean, balanced, and supported, your strength doesn't just return. It grows. In the next section, we'll dig deeper into the emotions behind all of this. How even well-meaning health habits, built on fear or old advice, can quietly sabotage you. And how a mindset shift, away from adding more and toward trusting your body, might be the most healing step of all. You glance at the pill organizer on your kitchen counter. Neatly filled, color-coded, carefully labeled for each day of the week. It brings you comfort. It feels like control. Like you're doing something right. And that's understandable. You've been told your whole life that prevention is better than cure. That staying ahead means staying safe. That a few supplements here and there will build a kind of armor against aging. But what if that armor is too heavy? What if you've been layering help on top of help until your body is burdened by the very things meant to protect it? It's not your fault. The health industry has long sold a version of wellness that says, if something's good, more must be better. That multivitamins are insurance. That megadoses of D or A can hold off frailty. That popping pills can replace slipping habits. But your legs? They don't lie. They always tell the truth. And here's the truth they're telling. You may be doing too much. Too much supplementation. Too many overlapping nutrients. Too many assumptions about what your body needs without asking it first. You probably remember a time when food was enough. When strength came from movement, balance from rest, and health from simplicity. But somewhere along the way, the shelves filled up. More products. More formulas. More pressure to optimize and biohack. And yet, now your muscles feel tighter. Your recovery slower. Your steps a little more tentative. So we ask, what's really behind that urge to add one more capsule? Fear? Maybe? Of decline. Of pain. Of becoming dependent. Those fears are valid. But they can push you into routines that cause the very outcomes you're trying to avoid. One widely known fact: fear-based decisions rarely serve long-term health. They lead to extremes. To overcorrections. To mistrusting your body's own signals. You hear a friend say, vitamin D changed my life, and you think, maybe I need more. Or you read that vitamin A supports the immune system, and you add it to your stack, even though your diet already covers it. That's how it happens. Not irresponsibility. Over-responsibility. You try so hard to be healthy that you forget to be balanced. And it's not just physical. There's an emotional cost to constantly managing your own health like a full-time job. You start to doubt your instincts. You fear food that isn't labeled super. You question rest. You see every symptom as a threat, and every threat as a failure to supplement properly. That mental weight? It's just as heavy as the pressure in your calves. You may not realize it, but that subtle anxiety, the one that drives you to tweak your supplement routine weekly, is exhausting your system. It keeps your nervous system in alert mode. Your cortisol levels rise. Your inflammation creeps higher. Your sleep gets lighter. And guess what all of that does to your legs? It makes them tired, stiff, over-responsive, or worse, under-responsive. One surprising detail about the body: chronic stress, even mild and unspoken, causes muscle fibers to remain partially contracted. That means your muscles never fully relax, which is why you wake up with tightness before you've done anything at all. So now let's pause and reflect. Not on what to take, but on what to release. Can you let go of the idea that more pills mean more safety? Can you let go of the need to control every outcome? Can you trust that your body, with some support, not force, can heal, adapt, and regain strength? Because that's where true resilience lives, not in perfection, but in flexibility. It's okay to revisit your habits. To decide that less is enough. That quality matters more than quantity. That food can be powerful, sunshine restorative, movement medicinal. Open-ended question that health psychologists often ask: what does your supplement routine say about your relationship with control? It's worth asking. Because if your regimen is built on fear, the results will reflect that. The tension. The fatigue. The overwhelm. But if it's built on awareness, on listening, adjusting, respecting your body's evolving needs, then even small routines can lead to massive healing. So how do you shift? Start with curiosity. Get your levels checked. Not because you're panicked, but because you're informed. Look at what you're actually low in instead of guessing. Next, simplify. If you're taking vitamin A and your diet already includes eggs, milk, and colorful vegetables, you may not need that capsule. If your vitamin D levels are fine in spring and summer, back off a little. Let your body breathe. Then notice. When you skip a supplement, do your legs feel different? Lighter? Less tight? More responsive? Your body will tell you. Every time. Because what you've been calling aging might actually be overdoing. And what you thought was weakness might just be overload. This isn't about judgment. It's about gentleness. About trusting that your legs aren't failing, they're communicating. And when you listen to them, really listen, you'll start to hear something new. Not resistance. Not confusion. But relief. In the next section, we bring it all together. We'll look at how to rebuild from here, how to craft a plan that supports leg strength, reduces inflammation, and uses supplements wisely, not fearfully. Because now that you understand the signals, it's time to strengthen your steps with clarity. You open your refrigerator. Eyes scanning shelves you've looked at 100 times. There's yogurt in the corner, a container of leftover soup, a bottle of orange juice labeled, fortified with vitamin D. You hesitate. That label used to reassure you, make you feel protected. Now, you see it differently. Because now you know more isn't always better. And sometimes the foods that seem healthiest come with hidden baggage. But this isn't about removing everything from your plate. It's about rebuilding intelligently, sustainably, from the ground up. Not with fear, but with confidence in what your body actually needs. So let's start with your legs. What do they need most? 1. Stability. 2. Circulation. 3. Recovery. 4. The right nutrients in the right doses. It's a system. And like any system, one faulty input can throw everything off. We've talked about how excess vitamin A weakens bones and promotes stiffness. How too much vitamin D can calcify muscles and clog the kidneys. But now we ask, what restores the balance? Let's go through it. Stability begins with protein. Your muscles are made of protein. You know this. But what's changed after 60 is how your body processes protein. It's less efficient now. It needs more input for the same output. That means if you were getting by with 40 to 50 grams a day in your 50s, you probably need 65 to 80 grams now, depending on activity and body size. And not just any protein, complete proteins. Eggs, fish, lean meats, tofu, Greek yogurt, legumes paired with whole grains. If you're not getting these consistently, your body starts raiding its own tissues to maintain function. You probably remember a time when skipping meals didn't affect your energy. Now it's different. Your legs notice. They get that hollow feeling. Not because you haven't moved, but because they're running on fumes. Interesting body fact. Muscles begin to atrophy within 72 hours of severe undernutrition. Even without visible weight loss, tissue strength can decline rapidly. Next, circulation. Without good blood flow, nutrients can't reach your leg muscles, even if your diet is perfect. So the question becomes, what clogs the system? Sugar, excess sodium, trans fats, and as we now know, calcification caused by unbalanced vitamin D and low K2. So what unclogs it? Leafy greens, spinach, kale, rich in natural nitrates that improve blood vessel dilation. Beets, a natural nitric oxide booster. Cinnamon and garlic. Both support circulation and reduce inflammation. Movement, even gentle stretching, opens capillaries and enhances nutrient delivery. Now you may be thinking, what about my supplements? Fair question. Let's move into recovery. The role of smarter supplementation. Rather than cutting all supplements cold turkey, shift to a targeted model. Get blood work done. Know your current levels, especially vitamins A, D, magnesium, and calcium. Replace, don't stack. If your multivitamin contains 100% of your daily DNA, don't double it with additional pills. Add vitamin K2. This underappreciated nutrient works alongside D to direct calcium into bones and away from muscles and arteries. Reintroduce magnesium. Many older adults are low in this, especially if they've taken PPIs for reflux, certain diuretics, or high-dose calcium supplements. Magnesium supports muscle relaxation and kidney health. Open-ended questions still being explored. Can individualized supplementation, based on regular testing and dietary tracking, outperform blanket supplement regimens for seniors? Early data says yes. Hydration revisited. Dehydrated muscles don't recover. Dehydrated joints don't cushion. And as we mentioned earlier, thirst diminishes with age. So how do you make hydration work without just chugging water? Add electrolytes. Especially if you sweat or take medications that increase urination. Eat hydrating foods, cucumber, oranges, watermelon, celery. Time your intake. Sip consistently throughout the day. Waiting until you're thirsty is too late. Now let's talk about habits. The best supplement plan in the world won't help if your muscles aren't used. They need challenge. Not strain. Just challenge. That's how they signal the body to repair, grow, and stay active. Start small. 2 leg raises while brushing your teeth. Standing calf pumps while waiting for your toast. A 10-minute walk after lunch. It adds up. One of the most effective muscle-building programs for seniors? Bodyweight exercises, slow, deliberate movements that restore mobility and coordination. No equipment. No gym. Just consistency. Rebuilding mindset. And this part might be the most powerful of all. Because you can't heal your legs if your mind still fears them. if every twinge feels like failure, if every step is filled with doubt. So reclaim trust in your body. It hasn't betrayed you. It's been working overtime to communicate with you. And now, you're finally listening. Start by reframing. That soreness? A sign of use, not weakness. That tightness? A sign of recovery, not damage. That fear? A sign that you're stepping into change. Your legs don't need more vitamins. They need more clarity. Less static. Fewer unknowns. A gentler rhythm. A smarter plan. And yes, they need rest too. But not the kind that turns into long hours on the couch. The kind that comes from nourishing food, smart supplementation, hydration, and movement that honors your limits, but still pushes them. In the next section, we go practical. You'll learn what to eat, what to shift, and how to rebuild a daily plan that protects your legs, honors your age, and restores your energy, without drowning in pills or fear. Because now that you know the risks, it's time to claim the solutions. You wake up tomorrow with a plan. Not a resolution. Not a promise to overhaul everything. Just a calm, steady decision. Today, I'll take one step toward strength. That step might be a little shorter, a little slower, but it's aligned, grounded, backed by something more powerful than a new supplement. It's backed by understanding. So let's build that plan together. Let's look at what a day could feel like when it's designed to nourish your legs, not overload them. Morning. You start with hydration. Before the coffee, just a glass of warm water with lemon. Maybe a pinch of sea salt if you've been sweating lately or taking medications that deplete minerals. This tells your kidneys we're listening now. It supports digestion, wakes up circulation, begins the day in balance. Then breakfast. Not a bowl of cereal loaded with vitamin D, A, and synthetic additives. Instead, 2 scrambled eggs, high-quality protein, vitamin B12, choline. A slice of whole grain toast with seeds if possible, hello magnesium. Half an avocado, potassium, healthy fats, anti-inflammatory. A handful of blueberries, natural antioxidants, gentle blood sugar support. You skip the orange juice. You've learned it's often fortified with more vitamin D than you need. You choose herbal tea or black coffee instead, and enjoy it slowly. And your supplements? You scale back. Maybe you take only the ones you need based on actual test results. No multivitamin, just in case. You're not guessing anymore. You take a moment to stretch while the coffee brews. 10 slow calf raises. Gentle hip circles. Ankles rolling. Each motion wakes up the fibers in your legs, fibers that used to feel numb, but now feel alive. You remind yourself, movement is medicine. Midday. Lunch is simple. Clean. Protein forward. Grilled salmon or chickpeas tossed with olive oil. Steamed spinach with garlic. A small sweet potato roasted. A splash of lemon juice, some cracked pepper. You notice how you feel afterward. Not bloated. Not sluggish. Your legs don't swell. Your energy holds. That's your body saying, thank you. You go for a walk. Not far. Just around the block. You focus on your steps. How they feel. You notice the ground. Your posture. The rhythm of your breathing. Each step is easier than yesterday's. Not because your legs are younger, but because they're less burdened. That's what happens when the traffic inside your body clears. When calcium flows to bones, not into joints. When magnesium supports muscle repair instead of being blocked by excess vitamin A. One widely known fact: regular movement enhances nutrient delivery better than most supplements. Why? Because muscles are highly vascular. Movement pulls nutrients into muscle cells. It's circulation in action. Afternoon. Maybe you snack. Maybe you don't. But if you do, it's real. A handful of walnuts. A boiled egg. Sliced cucumbers with hummus. No synthetic bars. No fortified puddings. No hidden A or D in strange places. You're choosing clarity. And you feel it. Less fog. Fewer crashes. No urge to nap in that foggy, disconnected way. Your legs feel, dare you say it, light? Evening. Dinner is cozy. But balanced. Not overloaded with salt or sauces or box grains. You've cut back on processed foods. You now know that even your favorite instant mashed potatoes had more sodium and vitamin D than you realized. Tonight you opt for roasted chicken thighs with herbs. Quinoa tossed with olive oil and lemon zest. Roasted zucchini and red bell pepper. Maybe a piece of dark chocolate, 80% cacao, just enough to satisfy. You let your legs rest but not collapse. Maybe a few more stretches. A short session of toe raises while brushing your teeth. You don't need to exercise. You just need to engage. One surprising detail? As little as 10 minutes of leg engagement daily can reverse early signs of atrophy. Now let's address supplements again. You keep a notepad. You write down how you feel on days with or without your usual routine. You've tested your levels or plan to. You talk with a healthcare provider, not just a pharmacist in passing, to evaluate whether your D or A levels are optimal. Not high, not borderline, but truly right for you. And guess what? You sleep better. Because your body isn't processing synthetic excess all night. Your kidneys aren't filtering overload. Your legs aren't twitching or cramping because of unbalanced minerals. They rest. And when you wake up the next morning, there's a moment of surprise. Not pain, not heaviness, but possibility. You stand. You feel steady. And you think this. I can work with. Long-term shift. You start planning your days around recovery and movement, not medication. Your kitchen becomes the medicine cabinet. Your journal becomes the diagnostic lab. Your body becomes the authority. You stop fearing decline because now you understand what was causing it. You start listening to your legs, not punishing them, not pushing them, but partnering with them. You let go of the pressure to do everything right. Instead, you focus on doing less but doing it better. You've unstacked the shelves of confusion. You've replaced chaos with rhythm. And for the first time in a while, your legs feel like they're walking with you, not against you. Reflection. Ask yourself tonight. What have I been overdoing in the name of health? What could I remove or replace with food and movement? When was the last time I trusted my body more than a label? Because in the final section, we tie it all together. We'll take this knowledge, this shift, this piece, and turn it into a foundation. One you can stand on, walk with, and live by for years to come. It's quiet. Early. The kind of quiet where your body tells the truth. You're sitting on the edge of the bed, legs hanging freely, toes barely brushing the floor. And you feel it's something different. Something more grounded. There's no sharp jolt, no cramp, no confusing stiffness running through your thighs or calves. Just a calm awareness. A readiness. A return. This moment didn't come from a magic pill. It came from a shift, one you chose. Because now you understand your legs are not simply bones and muscles. They're barometers. Messengers. A mirror of your inner balance. And for a long time, that mirror was fogged up by confusion. Misguided routines. Oversupplementation. But not anymore. Now you've cleared the fog. You've learned that vitamin A in excess silently weakens the scaffolding of your legs. That too much vitamin D invites calcium to build up where it shouldn't, burdening your muscles, stiffening your movement, and overworking your kidneys. You've seen how good intentions can go sideways, how even healthy routines, when piled high, lead to tension rather than strength. But you didn't stop there. You took the harder step. You listened. You questioned. You reevaluated what health really looks like. And health? It's not a shelf full of bottles. It's a leg that bends without complaint. A knee that holds your weight. A calf that springs instead of stalls. It's freedom in your steps. One widely known fact. The most sustainable health routines are those grounded in awareness and adaptability, not fear. And now you're aware. You notice how your legs feel after a real whole food meal. You notice how magnesium calms your muscles while vitamin K2 guides your calcium. You realize hydration isn't a checklist, it's a kindness. That movement isn't punishment, it's permission. Surprising body truth, your muscles have memory. Not just of movement, but of nourishment. They remember when they're supported correctly. They respond, they soften, they rebuild even later in life. So here's what rebuilding looks like now. You've simplified your supplements to only what your body needs. You've integrated movement into your daily rhythm, nothing flashy, just consistent. You've shifted your meals from convenience to clarity. You've stopped chasing health with panic and started partnering with it calmly. Open-ended question science is still exploring. Is there a tipping point, an exact balance, where leg strength, mineral clarity, and emotional peace intersect? Where the body doesn't just maintain but flourishes? Maybe, maybe not. But what we know is this: you're closer to that balance than you've been in a long time. Because everything about your body, your blood flow, your muscle tone, your gait, your posture, has started to say, thank you. And that's what matters. You've stopped throwing darts in the dark. You've stopped blindly trusting a label over your own senses. You've made space for your body to speak, and now it does. It steadies you as you stand. It powers you as you climb. It moves not with confusion, but with confidence. And now let's slow down. Just for a moment. Let the pace soften. Let the breath lengthen. Take this time to pause. To settle into your body right where you are. Feel your feet touch the floor. Notice the slight stretch in your ankles, the soft release in your calves, the gentle engagement of your thighs. No rush. No agenda. Just being. Let the breath roll in slowly, then out, even slower. Your muscles appreciate this rhythm. Your bones too. They've worked hard today, not through exertion, but through awareness. Through choosing rest. Through choosing balance. Imagine warmth moving through your legs, not heat, but ease. Like sunlight gently slipping through a window, landing softly across your shins and knees. No force. Just support. Your joints aren't grinding. They're aligning. Your circulation isn't blocked. It's flowing. Your nervous system isn't braced. It's calm. You've let go of the weight you didn't need to carry, those megadoses, those silent stresses, those habits built on fear. You've invited in lightness, simplicity, strength. And now every step ahead feels different. Not because it's faster, but because it's yours. Let that be enough for now. Let your legs rest. Let your heart slow. Let your breath deepen. Because this is what healing sounds like. What recovery feels like. What strength, the real, lasting, quiet strength moves like. And tomorrow? You'll begin again. With intention. With clarity. With legs ready to walk with you.